Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Saturday Morning Replay, and I bet I know something about Nintendo that you don't. And with the Nintendo Switch coming out on March 3rd, I wanted to make every episode in February Nintendo themed. And with this very first episode, we're going to be looking at things that you probably didn't know about Nintendo as a company. Let's go ahead and look at the first one on our list this week. Number 1. Nintendo's been around since the 1800s. Nintendo started in 1889 and sold handmade playing cards that they actually still manufacture and sell today in Japan. And in between its time as a playing card company and being one of the world's biggest players in the video game industry, Nintendo had quite a few niche businesses and services up until the 1960s. These included a taxi service and several love hotels that could be rented by the hour. And if you're not sure what love hotels are, it's exactly what it sounds like. Number 2. Nintendo used to own the Seattle Mariners baseball team. In 1992, Nintendo became the majority shareholder of the Mariners and kept control of the team for over 2 decades. There was also a 3DS app that allowed customers to order food from their seat. Last year in 2016, they sold most of their stake in the team, making over $500 million in profit. Number 3. The NES was almost released by Atari. Nintendo had originally teamed up with Atari to market the NES under their name, and the system was going to be called the Nintendo Advanced Video Gaming System. But the deal never finished due to delays on Atari's part, and also with the CEO being fired, which led to Nintendo releasing the NES on their own in the US. And a similar situation occurred when Nintendo partnered with Sony to create a CD add-on for the Super Nintendo, but when Nintendo broke the agreement, Sony took the add-on and created the PlayStation. Number 4. Nintendo invented the D-pad. The D-pad was designed by Nintendo in 1982 for Donkey Kong. And before the D-pad existed, most gaming systems used joysticks or wheels to control the on-screen characters. And the design earned Nintendo a Technology and Engineering Emmy Award. Number 5. Nintendo was the first to add jumping to a video game. Before Donkey Kong, jumping had never been featured in a video game and Miyamoto nearly patented it. That's also how Mario received his first name of Jumpman. Number 6. The Game Boy was invented by a janitor. The janitor, Yokoi, worked in one of Nintendo's factories until his boss noticed an extending arm toy that he made in his spare time. And Yokoi was then moved from cleaning and maintaining equipment to the toy department. And he went on to invent the Game & Watch and eventually the Game Boy. Number 7. In Super Mario Bros., the clouds and the bushes are exactly the same. The sprites for the two only differ in color. Due to storage restrictions with the NES cartridges, several shortcuts had to be made. Number 8. Nintendo owns the rights to 2 Super Mario pornos. In the 90s, there were 2 adult movie parodies called the Super Hornio Brothers released that starred Ron Jeremy. And after the huge flop of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Nintendo became very protective of its property and bought the rights to the movies to keep them from ever seeing the light of day. Number 9. The original light gun looked like a real gun. Safety regulations caused Nintendo to change the design before it could be released in the US. The original light gun in Japan was made to resemble a revolver and had a hammer that moved when you pulled the trigger. In fear that the light gun would be mistaken for an actual weapon, it was changed to the Nintendo Zapper. Number 10. Donkey Kong was supposed to be a Popeye game. Miyamoto really wanted a licensed Popeye game that involved Bluto kidnapping Olive Oyl and Popeye climbing an unfinished skyscraper to chase him. However, a deal couldn't be reached and Miyamoto went on without the rights. The sprites for the game were altered. Bluto was changed to Donkey Kong, Olive Oyl to Pauline, and Popeye to Jumpman, later to be named Mario. Nintendo did eventually make a Popeye game, but it was never as popular as Donkey Kong. Bonus. Back in the 90s when Paul Rudd was first getting his start, one of the very first things he starred in was a Super Nintendo commercial.
This kind of challenge, this kind of flying, crashing feeling. When you decide to get serious, there's only one place to come. The games of Super Nintendo. No one else creates this kind of experience, because no one else creates these kinds of games. playing with power, superpower.
That's everything for this week's episode of the Saturday Morning Replay. I hope you guys enjoyed everything on our list this week. And like always, if there's anything that I missed, please put it in the comment section below so I can get to it in a future episode. If you liked everything you saw, a thumbs up would be much appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's all-new Nintendo-themed episode. And stick around for March 2. As soon as that Nintendo Switch comes out, we're going to have it on the show. And until next week, my name's Chad. You guys have a good one.